Hi, I'm Jonathan, the Game Master for Demon Days, an actual play podcast with a focus on fiends and the friends who play them. I wanted to draw your attention to our recap episode that we recorded last week called Interlude, From Rude Awakening to Trost. In it, we covered the events from episodes 1 through 8, so if you wanted to bypass the rough audio at the beginning of our podcast, or just fast track to the present, we've got you covered. It was fun to record, and we got to finally introduce our narrator. Now, before we jump into the show, I just want to bring up our sponsor for the campaign, ArcKnight. That's ARCKNIGHT. We love the props and minis that they've provided for the table, and can't wait to show you what's in store for our upcoming encounters. We also wanted to give a special shout out to Gordon McAlpin, who did the artwork for our show. And now, let's get on with it.
Friends, fiends! Now, where were we? Ah, yes. Our heroes are fucked. They just beat down some evil creature from the abyss and got arrested for it. How's that for some bullshit? Anyway, they're off to the Slammer and probably going to meet that Storm Empress. Now, hand me some of that lovely ale you've got right there, and I'll fill you in on what happens next in these Demon Days.
You get the briefest of moments to catch your breath before you're surrounded by 9 Aasimar soldiers, their weapons trained on you. A captain in line armor pushes through, pointing their longsword at Yewsiff. In a panic, Barney tries to make a break for it and gets clotheslined by one of the soldiers in line armor. She goes down hard. The soldier slams his armored fist into her face with 3 good hits, and she loses consciousness. They hoist her up and place her in manacles. It's not pretty. The rest of the soldiers descend on you, and not so gently apply similar restraints. You're led through the streets of the Upper Reach, gaining the attention of student and faculty alike. Because of the noise and the few panicked students who fled the attack, the trickle of people soon become a crowd. Across every face is a great deal of fear and confusion. A few minutes of pushing through the main thoroughfare, and you reach the stair leading up to the Nobility District itself. As you ascend, you feel the air get a bit chillier and the wind pick up. A brief look back reveals that the throng of people you left behind are following at a cautious distance. You reach the next level up after 5 or so minutes and find yourself on a massive street that reaches from one end of the district to the other. You faintly hear one of the soldiers refer to this as the Nobility Highway. You're led to the east for about 20 minutes, reaching a junction in that highway. The soldiers steer you north at this crossroad, and you find yourself ascending an even larger highway, with a direct line to Drinmare's Keep in the distance. 2 10-foot statues reminiscent of the ones outside the city walls precede the way, with hands raised to the sky. After them, in intervals, are other statues of Aasimar, and they too have their hands stretched in a similar manner. The ascent takes a while, and your legs start to ache from the steady march upward. After what seems like an eternity, you reach the keep itself and are confronted by 2 massive obsidian doors, guarded by an equally massive storm giant. Seeing the entourage of soldiers, he pushes the doors open with ease. The air around him crackles with energy. Through those giant obsidian doors, you're presented with the main courtyard of the keep, barracks, training grounds, and staff quarters, all bisected by a main path leading up to the Great Hall, all marked with swords stabbed into the ground on either side. You can hear the blades hum lightly with the wind at this altitude. It's not hard to be taken aback by the sheer scale of everything this far up. Your captors transfer you to a new group of soldiers who add stronger shackles to your wrists and ankles. By now, Barney has come back to a very groggy consciousness. Her face has started to bruise and the blood has dried. You're led up the path into the Great Hall, but instead of being taken to the throne room itself, you're marched off to a side chamber and down a large set of stairs into the dimly lit undercroft, where you're taken into a large holding cell. You're placed inside and unshackled. Your weapons and effects are removed one by one from your possession and placed within a large chest guarded by an Aasimar jailer nearby. And at this time, if there's anything that's small that you wish to sleight of hand to keep into your possession, now is the time to roll a d20 for it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep one good dagger.
Okay.
11.
11. You start to kind of keep it tucked aside, and You think you did a fairly good enough job, but the Aasimar who is kind of frisking you down manages to catch it.
I'm sorry. I forgot. I always forget about this one.
And he scowls at you and takes the dagger. And anyone else have a roll on that?
I tried to keep my my brand new journal, tuck it under a shirt or something, and
that big thing.
It did not work out at all. I probably dropped it in my attempt to stuff it under sashes and things like that, and just dropped it right on the.
Yeah, it hits the ground with like this loud like fuck, and it echoes in this undercroft, and everyone just kind of sits there for a second, and then the soldiers pick it up.
Can I try also to keep my green journal secreted in a pocket?
Yeah, sure. We can do a separate roll for that.
Okay.
Ha ha ha. You're in luck, my friend.
That is a 16.
Oh yeah, you managed to, with the momentum of them taking the blade from you, you kind of use that opportunity to shift the attention away from the journal, and you keep the journal tucked away, and no one seems to notice.
Okay.
In the scuffle, I also tried to sleight of hand my tarot cards.
Okay.
I got a 14 for that.
14. Let's see what. Yep, your tarot cards are just fine.
Sweet. Because I got a 3 for the first one.
You got the one Aasimar who is a lot more awkward around frisking the women folk, and you use that to your advantage.
Cool.
Anyone else trying to hide anything?
Nope.
Cool. The rest of your effects are removed. Your armor is still with you, but your weapons and anything that can be held is taken. They place it within a large chest nearby, and the chest gets carried over to the entrance to the undercroft, so just out of sight. And the Aasimar jailer kind of mills about the area, keeps their weapon handy, and they are keeping an eye on things. And you guys find yourselves, for the first time since the mountain, in a prison of sorts.
Where's Barney? Is she in the same...
She's in the cell with you too, yeah.
Okay.
Her cool weapon was taken and put in the chest as well, but she's taken a spot in the corner and has just kind of sat down. She got a few good hits to the face and is not feeling so great.
I'm gonna roll a medicine to actually see if I can do anything about any cuts or hits that she did take to the face.
Sure, absolutely.
13.
Yeah, you tear a little bit of excess cloth, and you manage to wrap it around her head. The right eye is quite a bit swollen because the fist really got her good there, and those were armored fists, so yeah, it was starting to really bulge up. She can't actually see out of the eye right now, so just putting the bandages around it really does help reduce the grotesqueness of the bruise. And she nods, but has been very humbled by the experience and is not talking at the moment.
So the jailer, is it one room that he is inside of with us, or is there like a...
There are a few different cages like that are from floor to ceiling just built into this undercroft area. Like basically it's a holding area with a couple different cells, and there's the jailer who keeps a pace around the place. And
okay,
so it's not like you're against a wall or anything. These cages are mostly in the center of this larger undercroft.
Okay, and we're all in the same one, yeah?
Yep, you're all in the same one.
Well, geez, I wonder where they put the dignitaries. Well, we know what comes next, yeah? So let's have a quick chat, figure out what we want to say and what we definitely don't. I would kindly ask that you all respect my privacy when it comes to the sisters. I'll tell some truths to the Queen if questions are asked, and they will be true, I can assure you that, but I'd like to keep them out of this. It behooves us all.
It'll probably be wise.
We didn't do anything wrong, though.
No, we did not.
Doesn't matter.
No, it does.
Why are we here then? I don't know what comes next. I'm a little scared.
You hear from the corner from Barney. She speaks up after a while of silence.
I'm sitting down next to her too, by the way.
Yeah. It's all part of due process. If there's any sort of ambiguity of the situation, it comes before the Empress. Something as weird as this, with the weirdness that's happened over at the mountain, it just warrants getting the whole story. And since the Empress herself doesn't do this every single day, it's kind of the chance they have to set the record clear.
Right, but at the end of the day, she is an Empress, so...
Yeah.
We are in her domain, and
we look the way we look.
We look the way we look.
And even though I know you guys, and I know you guys aren't evil, the situation does seem evil, just at first blush, and that's enough for these Aasimar.
Right.
It's not great, and I've seen the Empress far too many times.
Chuck us down the hole, yeah?
Well, you guys have a better shot of not going down the hole.
Barney, love, what does the due process here look like?
Well, they are going to find anyone who is involved with the situation, probably directly and indirectly, who they can find, and they'll bring them before the Empress when she's ready to hear everyone. And it's just a parade of all the laundry, so to speak. If there's anyone that you've met before who has any sort of relation to the event, they'll bring them before. Otherwise, yeah, it's just testimony, and usually the Empress will hear it out and offer her pronouncement. It's pretty simple.
How long will we spend down here?
Now that depends on how long it takes to get everyone involved.
When the guards, as the guard's making his rounds, I want to wait till he's on the away side of things, like he's walking away from me. I want to try to ease out my journal and the little charcoal in it and scribble a quick message.
Yeah, and you notice too, now that you guys are in the cages and they have pretty much most of your items, the patrolling soldier that you can see, she doesn't seem to be too interested in what you guys are doing.
Okay, so yeah,
it's more of every now and then looking in your direction, being like 1, 2, 3, 4, like kind of doing the count. Walking around doing the count.
So
and
I'll
then kind of zoning out. Yeah.
Try to naturally put Yewsiff and Leysa kind of between me and her and pull my journal out. And I just want to write going before Storm Empress, long story, and then I'm just going to write Drago or Zafan, ? And then just tuck it back in. Essentially, which version of myself should I present to the Storm Empress?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
You write the message into the little book, and it makes that light, very almost imperceptible sizzling sound as the ink text burns in and is sent out in its special way.
Do you guys think that we're being followed? Or is it because we had that necklace from the building?
I don't think it's the necklace. I think...
I would stop there.
Yeah. I think it's...
Well, actually, I would back up completely. It very well could be the necklace. It's been with us the entire time that we've been attacked.
I'm pretty sure it has everything to do with that ritual that we woke up from.
Yeah.
Again, I would stop before that.
Yeah.
And it could be the necklace because it's been with us the entire time we've been attacked. And when we handed it over, we were attacked again with greater force.
Right.
It is the truth. And I don't
As
know
we know
any
it,
differently.
yeah. I'm very much of the opinion that anything that happened before we crossed into the Storm Empress's territory is not really any of their concern. And we were brought here, not of our own will, under some fair amount of duress. So in theory, as a sovereign, she's responsible for, we know now they're mostly dead, her own citizens attacking us. I don't want to come out too aggressive with her, but at some point we are a wronged party in this.
When did her citizens attack us?
Well, it was in her territory, yeah? The cultists.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The haberdashery.
All that, yes.
Were we visiting in her territory, we have not been treated with any amount of,
And we've acted pretty heroically. I mean, we turned in 2 bounties here. The other bounties are from another territory. And we just closed a portal, a rift to another dimension that maybe one of their explorers opened, right?
We're outsiders that created chaos and damage in one of their finest levels of the town.
Right.
Barney also nods in agreement with you. Yeah, it's the appearance of it.
And the appearance of us.
Look, I mean, I'm an outsider, and I've been here longer, and I'm elvish to a point, and I don't want to say that they mean that they're excited to be able to pin something on people, but there is a sense of an enthusiasm that awakens when they get a chance to really clamp down.
There's a racism.
In all of my travels, honestly, in situations like this, they are not interested in the truth.
I mean, I'm sure you guys noticed that this city seems like a very, goody two-shoes city, nothing wrong. The worst thing we have is just a weird fight club that I run. Like, usually big cities like this have a crime element to them. And I've been to places that have a great and wonderful underbelly. It's a fun place to be. Was that suspicious to you guys as well?
Yes, it's wildly suspicious, and usually that means that there's a disparity between the sentence and the crime.
Yeah, it tends to be harsher.
Exactly. So...
But again, I've done some bad things, and I'm not still in the depths, so I don't know. I'm conflicted, even me. So it's not great, it's not right, but I don't know. You guys aren't evil. Just seems like a lot of evil has been happening to you guys.
Taslinn is someone who obviously respects a certain modicum of discretion about certain things in your past. I'm sure you want to avoid any overt mentioning of Adair, yes? You've wielded that before in your own interpersonal defense, and before we all get out there, I want to make sure we respect what you once said to the Sovereign.
Well, I mean, I'd prefer the less anybody knew about me, the better.
Same.
Adair does have a certain flair for making people go quiet.
Right.
But,
Adair is close enough to their domain where they might already know. The Storm Empress is very versed in that sort of thing, so it might just not be...
Oh, everyone knows the story.
Yeah.
If they are... it's...
But it won't necessarily put a target on you necessarily.
No.
Unless it had something to do with the safety of the people of the city of Trost or the Storm Court or whatever,
Well,
Right.
and I was from there. There's no saying that I was actually there when it happened.
Right, and it's Dominion territory, so I'm sure the Aasimar here don't really give a shit.
Well, then let's agree then that that's a card in Taslinn's deck that she can play as she sees fit. Yewsiff, Leysa, is there anything else we should avoid?
I don't think so.
The Hardesty, do they come north? Do they have any interaction here?
Do they?
Just from what you know on the basic level of it, apart from just the various groups of 2 that they'll send out, hasn't been really any reason to go north for a while.
In general, no, we don't come up here.
I think perhaps maybe staying away from your areas of origin, considering how far away from the north you are, it could be possible that they could conceive it as being agents of an attack from the south.
I'm actually thinking the opposite for me. Barney.
Yeah.
When you were in this situation before, does she hold court when, is there an audience when this happens?
Yeah, but it's not like a show. It's more of the main regiment of soldiers, the most decorated.
Interested parties.
Interested parties, yes. Anyone who would have a say as to the carrying out of any sentences, the information that might be gleaned.
Any gnomes in that entourage that
No.
you can think of?
No, there aren't too many, other than the one that you guys were talking about.
Barney, remind us, what's with the Kenku again? Is that her steward?
I was just about to ask about that bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of her mouthpiece, especially since through her he was able to gain the use of creative thought once again. Cord blessed him with creative thought and the ability to form actual words. Something of a rarity amongst that race, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's not all just talk back.
Right. It's not just repeating what you say. It's more of he'll be conversing with you and she will be staring at you the whole time. She will just be watching. I don't necessarily like it. It's intense.
What sort of, do you know anything about any wards?
Not necessarily. If anything, she does have a mage who is her right hand and a druid who is her left.
There's a druid in the court?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of a cranky sort.
Okay.
If she had her way, I would have been permanently polymorphed into something like a slug. Just, she's not nice. And the other one, Galatha, I think, she's Mikela's archmage and deals in all manner of magic, and she'll probably take the most interest, to be honest. If anything magical happens, it goes through Galatha. And if there's any wards or anything like that, she's probably the one who either made them or has control over that.
Mikela is the
Storm Empress.
The Storm Empress. I'm still confused about what her statute is. I know she's an empress, but is she divine at all? Is she...
That's what they say. I mean, with the Storm Court, the religion is of Cord, the Storm Lord himself, and as the story goes, he has blessed a specific race, a specific bloodline of Aasimar, who are the benefactors of his will, his power, his fury, his storm, and that lineage is the supposed claim to this place. So through Mikela and her predecessors before her in that bloodline, there's the sense that this place belongs to them and that they have it through divine right. Part of that is the,
Of course.
who's to say who has the divine right to the goddamn continent of Aldarian?
Obviously, the gods and those who follow them do.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't they?
Of course.
He just kind of shakes his head as he says that and kind of looks off.
She kind of laughs, then says, ow. And then is like, yeah, I mean, if the gods would just wake up every now and then from their millennia of slumber, maybe we could get a good answer on that or something.
I just lean my head back against the wall, prop my arms up on my legs, and go, I hate towns.
I'm just tapping my journal nervously. Usually I don't, but this could be the rare exception. But I think, stiff upper lip. I think we present ourselves fairly and with a certain amount of grace. And hopefully this all goes as well as it could.
Does being down here count as a short rest?
Yes, it does.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, short rests and probably a long rest when it comes down to it.
Oh,
really? Okay.
You'll obviously want to, if you're going to do the long rest, some shut-eye, but you're going to be here for a little bit.
Leysa always meditates before she goes to bed, and this isn't the appropriate place for her favorite kind of meditation, so she is going to face the locker.
Well, I mean, we're both here.
It's a party and everyone's invited. No matter what.
You hear Yewsiff's horns just kind of hit the wall.
No, that wasn't in character.
Isn't it your favorite form of meditation, Yewsiff?
It is definitely one of them, but not one that I've been able to do in a long time.
Well, right now, that is not the kind of meditation I am looking for. So I'm going to go face the kind of storage area where they locked our stuff.
Okay.
And I'm going to meditate and just see if I feel anything coming from that awesome obsidian staff.
Okay. You'll have to hold the staff with you.
It's not with me.
No,
I was
no.
just trying to, because it listened to me before, so.
Right.
So I don't feel anything.
No, you don't feel anything. It's far enough away. You have to
Alright.
be with the staff and just meditating on it with it in your hand.
I think she was just going to try to say, come here, and then
Yeah.
get us out.
Yeah, do...
Not very smart, again.
regardless of that, though, do an Arcana check.
All right. That'd be a 4.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
You don't feel any different.
All right.
You
Then
feel
I'm
nothing.
gonna go to bed.
I'm going to walk over to Barney and put the last 5 points that I have into her face and see if that heals up anything before I rest.
Yeah, you walk up and start to do the healing on her, and you see an effect. The swelling starts to go down and some of the bruising. The blood is still caked on there, but she relaxes a little bit.
Okay.
I wish I would have kept my prestidigipen. I feel a little mucky going in to see the queen. Excuse me, guard.
The Aasimar walks up to the bars with relative speed. You notice that she's tall, muscular, pale skin with white hair and steel-colored eyes. Has swirling red paint lines to accentuate the musculature, and just has a permanent scowl. Yes.
We are obviously here at the Empress's pleasure, and know, of course, that we will come before her as she sees fit. But do you happen to know, will that be in the next few hours in the morning?
It may be a day or two as we locate everyone who is in association with you.
Very good.
Can you make it fast so we can just get this over with?
Her scowl stretches her face as to just an obscene amount, and she walks away. Almost, though, as if in response, you hear some noise at the undercroft, some commotion, and after a few minutes, you see a surprisingly calm Triss Verdant being ushered into your holding cell. She sighs upon seeing you all, and then proceeds to give a serious case of stink eye to the Aasimar soldier unshackling her. You manage to notice as this is going on that there are more soldiers down here than you originally thought, just based off of your guys' perceptions. You start to see a few more in the shadows, just ever so slightly move a little bit. They don't seem interested in what you're saying or anything, just keeping an eye on the place. And Triss sits down with a bit of a huff, gives a rude gesture to the soldiers as they walk off.
Triss, they shackled you?
Well, it's procedure.
But you're one of them.
I'm human.
Gods.
They really are out to get everybody who isn't an Aasimar.
Also, I should not have left you guys. For a couple of reasons, I probably could have helped. And second of all, that was suspicious.
Oh, well.
That you left? That was
yeah,
suspicious?
to them. I just didn't want to be up there in the upper reach.
Well, I
have my duty at the gate and all that.
I thought that was the whole point of us having the band, so that you didn't need to be with us.
I assumed that they'd be lenient on that, but I left and something happened, and I'm here just for the circumstance of it.
Well, I apologize that you got roped into this. Let me assure you.
I don't blame you guys. When I heard something happened, I figured they might be coming to see me.
Yeah, well, for whatever worth our word is to you, the kindness you've showed us, please know that this was an assault, an attack on us. It was unprompted, it was unexpected, and we did what we could to defend the city and ourselves.
If there's something I've learned with weird shit that happens, it's almost rarely the person blamed who's to blame. Weird shit seems to happen to people, not necessarily people doing weird shit. That's just been my experience of it.
So they're going to get the whole parade out? We're going to see everyone we've winked, high-fived, or swatted?
Not necessarily. I feel like anyone just in the most recent. I've brought people in before, and it is a pain in the ass to bring the whole kit and caboodle in. I mean, what? Like I'm going to go to any level of hell and bring, Grandpa Staton in or whatever. No, it's just me. I was the last one to talk to you guys.
Yeah. If Taslinn was looking, I flashed her a look when Triss said that.
I just kind of slightly roll my eyes enough for Fetter to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not ideal, but I figure if I'm in here and I don't put up a fight, maybe it'll help you guys a little bit.
What do you know of Branran? Stonebreaker, the dwarf, was with us.
They'll probably try to find him and bring him, and if they can't locate him, they'll probably bring in whoever his boss or superior is, whatever he's doing.
Considering how fastly he left the field, I'm not sure they'll be able to find him.
Then it'll probably be whoever his employer is or direct reference would be.
Yewsiff, should we make the gods aware of that craft you made before they find it on their own? Just so we can show that there was nothing suspicious about it?
Like a weapon of some kind?
No, I made
adornment.
It's a decanter. It's just a piece for the people to sell that on the shop where Bran was. I don't think it should be an issue.
If you had made like a huge glaive or a sword or something with a magical property to blow a hole in a wall or something, they might be like, okay, that's another point against you, creatures.
I'm not allowed to make weapons in this city. People carry them all over.
Again, these fucking people. Anything in this situation is kind of like a lockdown. Anything that is weird or suggestive is brought before, for better or worse. Not the best way to do it, but
I see.
I'm only human.
Well, then I'll find a bench against the wall and just kind of cross my arms, lean back, close my eyes.
Okay. Yeah, the evening is getting on, and you do start to feel a bit drowsy, so unless there's anything else you want to converse or say, the night will pass you by.
Trying to think if there's anything else I want to do.
Taslinn,
Yes, Leysa?
do you think your cards would be able to help us right now? How do they work?
Well, that depends.
I'll
obviously,
shoot Leysa a look.
What?
Well, she doesn't have them. Obviously, they took
Obviously,
all our stuff.
she doesn't have any of her things, Leysa.
I don't shoot a look because I figured they were
Oh,
taken.
yeah. I forgot. They took everything. My bad.
Yeah.
Everybody go to sleep.
If you did want to know something, what would you want to know?
I don't even know. I've never been in this situation before. Usually I'm on the other side of these things.
So what was your initial idea of asking me about my tarot cards?
Well, I just think maybe we should ask them if there's like something we can say or do. I don't know how they work.
No, they're much more broad than that.
It can maybe tell us what this Empress is like so that we can prepare a little.
They do provide guidance. They might, if I had them, they might be able to tell us whether there would be a good outcome or a bad outcome or a mixed outcome.
This is maybe a little neurotic, but I'm going to open an eye. And based on our interactions, is Triss? Is she actually?
Is she Triss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not some sort of plant?
Like plant or spy? No.
Magic, something like that?
No, she's pretty perturbed.
Okay.
She's sitting kind of cross-legged, arms folded across her chest, very much put out by this. But she's softened to you guys considerably in this situation. So that may be what the suspicion is coming from. Just
Even though we're the reason she's here?
yeah.
Huh.
But I mean, you guys have been crossed her paths enough and have had fun shenanigans to where it would be a stretch for her to think that you guys were trying to destroy the city.
We did destroy her favorite bar, though.
I mean, in your defense, that wasn't much of a bar. It's planks and some barrels.
And she could have joined.
Right, but I'm just saying, all you got to do is stand the barrel back up, put the plank back on it. I think you're fine.
All right.
Triss kind of laughs. Yeah, it's a shithole.
I liked it.
Yeah, you did.
It's one of those places that's not going to be very expensive to rebuild. Not that the person's going to rebuild. So the night passes, and then another night passes. Takes you about 2 days before anything of significant changes from your situation.
Long rest again.
Yep. And if there's any last conversations to have with any of them, we're about to move on.
Before I go to sleep, I'm going to take my hands in the water and just sit with it for some minutes. And
Okay.
I'm going to do a ceremony and turn it into, I'm going to bless the water and then just kind of cover myself in it.
Okay.
Before the end of the night.
Does it have any effects, specific effects on you for a specific amount of time?
No, you touch one vial of water and cause it to become holy water. I could save it for a later use, but it's kind of like a cleansing thing after the fight.
Yeah, as you do that, when you're done, you notice that Barney was just watching, very interested, but curious, kind of with a head tilt, what are you doing? She doesn't ask her anything, she just has that look about her.
Okay. I'm going to actively perception and see if any of the other Aasimar are watching me when I do it.
Me too.
Sure. Absolutely.
15.
13.
While you don't necessarily see any of the others that were hinted at around, the jailer who had talked to you before and scowled did watch your whole proceedings with interest, and the scowl lessened a little bit.
Okay.
Seemed to be
cool. Good.
Seemed to warm up to you a little bit.
I would try, if I realized that first day was passing, to maybe nod off a little early, to wake up in the middle of the night.
Sure.
Where most everybody's asleep. I'm going to check my journal and write out, perceive around to see how much the guards are watching or if anybody's lurking in the shadows, and then scribble out a slightly more detailed version of what happened. Just
okay.
The rift opening, the demon attack, my thoughts on that it might have something to do with the ritual, that I might not be able to come home, and but just quick, brief. I won't go through all the details here, but just kind of a summary of what actually happened.
Yeah.
And then tuck that back away.
You spend your time writing that out, and somewhere in the middle of it, because it does take you a little while, you do get a specific response in regard to the previous question.
Okay.
And you take a look at it, and that is the information you get.
Okay.
And
well, that's what I thought.
The 2 days pass, and commotion at the Undercroft entrance once again alerts you to incoming soldiers. They surround the holding cell with large pikes, while a few open the doors and enter with shackles. It takes a bit to get you all chained together, and more than once Barney's eyes dart toward the cell door. She restrains herself, though, but it's difficult. You're all led back.
I noticed that, and I'm just little tugs on the back of her clothing, being like, no.
Yeah, and you from doing that, you can feel just her body is tense. She might as well be a statue of stone for how tense she is. You're all led back out and up from the Undercroft and taken into the adjoining throne room, which is now filled with soldiers, as per what was told to you. The throne room itself is massive, with with large columns to the left and to the right. A black carpeted path leads up to the throne, which is elevated on a platform accessible by a small staircase. Hundreds of soldiers stand at attention along the fringes of the carpeted path, all with their hands on their weapon and staring straight ahead. One of the soldiers stands at attention at the far end of the carpeted path, facing in your direction. You recognize him as Brenthal Vash. He makes eye contact and nods in your direction.
A nod back.
And he receives it. And
I give him a little smile.
he doesn't know how to deal with the smile so much, but he's very, very stoic. He's trying to keep that stoic face going.
As we walk in, am I next to Fetter? What's the order that are we in a line, or are we just in a bunch?
Kind of a line of 2 by 2 chained together. So you guys can decide how you want to do
I'll
that.
happily go first. Like, I'll happily be.
Well, I would be in front as well. I just kind of like lean over and say, if you notice any gnomes in here, point them out, please.
Will do.
So Fetter, Yewsiff in the marching order, side by side, and then who's behind? So just
I probably would have fallen in line behind Yewsiff.
okay.
Unless you're specifically in back, Barney's probably in the rear. Yeah, it's 2, 2, and 1. Oh, right.
Yeah.
No,
because Triss is with us.
I considering I was tugging on Barney's clothes, I'm probably still with her.
Okay.
So it's probably Triss and Leysa in the middle, and then Barney and Taslinn.
As we're walking through here, I want to scan the room, perceive for familiar faces, anything out of sorts, anything, that really catches my eye.
Okay, go ahead. Roll that dice.
21.
You notice Viscal from before at that entryway when you fought the gnolls. The person who was with Brenthal Vash is in the lineup within the crowd, eyeing you guys with interest.
And any gnomes, if Yewsiff was looking?
Nope, no gnomes.
Okay. Just kind of raise an eyebrow at him.
Is Medusa here? Would they have pulled her?
If they have, you don't see her yet.
Okay.
Past Brenthal are a series of steps that lead up to the throne, and on the throne itself sits the Storm Empress Mikela Drinmare. Her posture on the throne is slouched, relaxed, almost casual, with her right leg hanging over the right armrest and her left hand toying with the hilt of a great sword on her left side. Despite this posture, she makes the otherwise impressive throne seem almost quaint. Her ashen pale skin is contrasted by long, bright red hair braided tightly and ornamentally. Her eyes share the red of her hair and draw your attention all the way from where you stand. She stares at each one of you for quite some time, but says nothing. To her left stands a tall, dark gray-skinned elf in verdant green leather armor, designed to be more revealing than functional. On her head rests a chaotic wreath crown, which accentuates her ankle-length braided hair nicely. Her feet are bare against the cold marbled ground, and in her hand is a purple-stained wooden staff as tall as she. To the right of the Storm Empress is a tall, shapely human woman, pale-skinned with black, curly hair that reaches just past the shoulders. Her ensemble is all black, from her blouse to her knee-high boots, and her silver eyes almost glow, adding an unsettling vibe to her otherwise enchanting face. Perched atop the Storm Empress's right thigh sits an unusually large ashen gray raven-like bird with a humanoid physique. It hops off her leg and flies over to you before standing to its full height of about 3 feet. You can see its vestments carry the insignia and colors of the Storm Court. You have been brought to trial before the great Storm Empress and ruler of the North, Mikela Drinmare, descended from the line of Aasimar, blessed with ascension by the great Cord who commands the Tempest. We have convened to determine what transpired within the upper reach and come to a course of action beneficial to the city and its inhabitants. Joining the Empress in judgment is her council, comprised of Archmage Golatha Resplendent and Archdruid Umesar Da'alian. The court would like to first acknowledge the presence of the Captain of the Eagle Stormwalkers, Brenthal Vash, decorated soldier who has served the land faithfully. He provides the first testimony. Brenthal Vash steps forward, cautiously, eyes downward, in reverence to the Empress. Yes, I am Brenthal Vash. I wanted to bring testimony to the court on meeting these 4 tiefling. I encountered the party within the mountain. When I first met them, they seemed very disoriented. They had managed to help us with an insurgence of gnolls. And he looks a little nervous. I intended to bring them in, but decided to let them go out to leave with gratitude for their help. I pointed them to the haberdashery. The hope was that I would meet up with them, question them, and we could maybe come here and figure out what happened. But that wasn't my mission, so I just let them go. I meant no ill will by it. We explored the mountain that they were in. The way inside was blocked by an impassable door. So Viskel and I, we tried our luck with the burrow hole that was dug in the wall that had been loosened or whatever from the quake. And we managed to, it took a while, but we managed to find our way through and entered a sanctuary of sorts. There were bodies everywhere. Like bloodied, although it had dried, and dead creatures that we didn't immediately understand. It was pretty grotesque. There were also cultists wearing robes and vestments with, it had a little symbol on it. It was like kind of like one of our arrowheads, but like downward. It was a bit ornate, but then we went further in and managed to find a mechanism and an altar with a great chamber room. I dismantled what I could from the altar itself and brought them back for study, although unfortunately I'm not as graceful. And, the pieces, those are pieces, lots of pieces. There was also a holding cell and a lab of some kind, but it was all too garbled and messed up for me to glean any information, and that is my testimony. And all hail to the Storm Lord and to the Empress who follows him. He steps back and relaxes. He's given his piece, and there's a nod from the Empress herself, and he about faces and starts traveling back out of the throne room.
So he leaves? He doesn't go back to his spot?
Nope. He leaves and resumes his post. As he passes by you all, he makes an unfamiliar gesture to you that seems heartfelt, almost like a wish of luck, like I'm going to reach out to give you a pat, but I'm not. So I'm just going to give you my symbol of crossing the arms. But it's a weird thing, but from your observation, you can tell it is much more genuine and heartfelt. Just awkward as fuck.
Okay.
He's replaced by 2 soldiers escorting in another familiar face into the room. A couple of them, actually. They're not shackled or anything, just coming in with an escort behind them. You see the Dragonborn Majira. You see the Goliath Yurt, who baptized you. You see Talia Medusa. She's there. You see Elamon and Elena. And the young Aasimar woman that Barney had been serenading before the shit hit the fan. They're all brought in front of you, kind of between you and the Storm Empress, and they're kind of set out side by side, and each proceeds to give their testimony. And during their testimony, which is basically what happened, just word for word, nothing left out from their point of view, nothing really incriminating, and actually kind of, it looks good for you. Talia keeps looking back nervously at you guys, just in general worry and concern. From the looks of things, doesn't look like she's ever been up here before. This is kind of a new thing for her. And she's concerned for your guys' well-being. And their testimony takes about, between them all, 5-10 minutes each. They're not very verbose, but it is kind of halted. They're trying to recollect things. Your eyes glaze a little bit. When they're all done, they are immediately led out.
In their testimonies, is there anything, I mean, it seems generally good, but are any of them either leaving something out that would be useful to us, or spinning events a little to protect themselves, or like who's veering, one way or the other from the truth? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, the testimonies of Majira, Yurt, and Talia, the 2 half-elf twins, they're all pretty straightforward. They give their own flavor on it, but they don't leave anything out. They don't incriminate or...
Nothing skewed
against
us.
The only one who kind of starts to skew a little bit is the Aasimar student. And you get the sense that she's a bit overzealous in her testimony, does conflate details that you guys maybe caused the issue, doesn't outwardly say that they tore a hole into reality and brought in the demon and the toad-like creature, but she paints it in that direction. She is playing to her fears a bit more and playing up that, for lack of a better word, playing up the racism a little bit.
Okay.
You see, from that, you can see a few soldiers stiffen. Mikela herself is unchanged. It just seems to be, she's just receiving the information. She doesn't seem to be affected by it. Like, it doesn't seem to help or hinder. But you sense that the Aasimar student is kind of skewing this a little bit against you guys. Whereas everyone else is generally for. And after they are all done, they are just whisked out. And Talia, once again, like she tries to reach for you. Her hands are small and tries to reach out to you, Yewsiff, just to be like a reassuring kind of grab. But she's too short, and the soldier just kind of bats her hand away. Don't touch the prisoner sort of thing. But she gives you just a look that just says, I hope everything will be okay. And she's the last to leave. Kordeka, the Kenku, resumes his speaking. The court would like to hear the testimony of each of you, tiefling, now. Anything you can say to your defense, this is the time to say it. Address it to the Storm Empress and her council, and do not bear false in your witness.
Well, I suppose I'll start, and I'll do like a full bow before the court. My name is Fetter. My full name is Francis Barenthal. I was...
I lean over to Barney and I'm like, Francis?
She kind of snickers a little bit.
I look back and I'm like, I give you a little face.
Barney kind of squinches her face like she's got glasses, spectacles, like, eh.
I have no recollection of coming into your kingdom, Your Highness, though I have found through our travails that apparently on my own, but not of my own accord, my own volition, traveled through your lands to Hilda's haberdashery sometime about a month before the turning of the year, and made my way up to the mountaintop of Grisnorval. I have no recollection of this time. You will find, I believe, that my compatriots have a very similar tale. I did not know them at all before this occurrence. We awoke in the sanctuary that your soldier, Vash, who was very kind to us, found us where he found us, and apparently had been shackled in some sort of device, and a melee of some sort had broken out around us. Again, we have no recollection of this. With his assistance, we were able to be freed, and we made our way down the mountain to Tilda's haberdashery at his recommendation. There we found we were beset upon by some knaves who had killed the proprietors except for Tilda herself. We were made aware of their deception. They drew arms and we defended ourselves. Upon realizing that there was a bounty for them, we decided to make our way to Trost. We did so. We pronounced ourselves at the gates, met Trist here, and have stayed in town, biding our time. Again, just trying to relax a bit, try to process the things that have happened to us in your town and in your kingdom, and trying to make sense of what has happened. While we were in the sanctuary, we found on a dead prisoner there a locket. In that locket was a photo of the prisoner, also a photo of who we would come to know as Talia Medusa. Our final act in town, once we had recuperated for several days, was to endeavor to return what was obviously a keepsake of some sort to Miss Medusa. We did so, and as we were leaving the upper reach, a very similar rift opened to several that we had seen before, and we were accosted by several demons who seemed very intent on dealing with us. We did, with the help of Barney here, and another citizen, Branran Stonebreaker, who had been accompanying us, bested the beasts, and though none of us are necessarily practitioners of the arcane, devise a way to close the rift into your city. We came along willingly when discovered, and honestly, to those ends about the attacks that are seemingly being perpetrated on us, have just as many questions as we'd like to give you answers. I believe that's all I have to say. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
As you do your spiel, you do notice, Fetter, specifically you, with your extra kind of insight into this sort of thing. You notice Galatha next to Mikela. She breaks her poise a little bit and leans forward with a bit more interest. Okay. And she's doing all she can to keep the poise, the stoic look that everyone needs to have at this court. But for you, you notice the ticks. You notice the break in character a little bit. And then if anyone else has anything to add to that or a defense, doesn't necessarily have to be the recounting because Fetter did such a great job, but if there's any defense to add to your case before we move on to Triss and Barney.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Your Excellency, I understand and appreciate the need to dole out justice. It's a core pillar of my religious order. But part of justice is not just punishing evil, it's celebrating those who do right selflessly. We assisted in a military investigation with your military, as you heard earlier. We killed 2 of your wanted criminals. We returned Aasimar property to beloved family and saved your incredible campus from a demon attack quickly and without harm to any of your citizenry. It's very clear we mean no ill will and in fact appreciate and enjoy being in your kingdom. I know, Your Excellency, you'll see the truth past our fiendish appearances. And then I try to give like a really good innocent stare because that is usually how I get my way in things. She's a lot more powerful than I'm used to, but
you do feel a hand briefly of Barney just as a squeeze of that was good.
Thank you.
I kind of give her a sidelong nod and just kind of smile and nod in approval.
And if there's any last defenses before we move on, both Taslinn and Yewsiff, you guys can you have the floor if you wish to use it.
Yewsiff takes a step forward. He says, "My lady, I'm Yewsiff Green Knight, Paladin of the Ancients. I have nothing further to add that my companions nor our witnesses in this matter have not already given. I believe our actions speak for us." And I step back.
Yeah, Triss nods at you, just like, good. And then Taslinn.
Yeah, I will kind of...
Has anyone ever seen Tango and Cash?
Obviously.
I can't really shinkle forward, I guess, because we're all on a line.
You have enough slack to at least make the effort.
Yeah, I will essentially sort of push Leysa and Triss forward so they're as close to Fetter and Yewsiff as possible. And I'm just going to stick my head right in between them as much as I can and just be like, I'm not going to say anything of the accounts because we've heard enough of these. And I know my position right now is probably one of comedic relief, which I hope you take lightly. However, Miss Galotha, Lady Galotha, you are one of arcane knowledge. You understand how magic in itself can be chaotic and uncontrollable and unknowable. And even though we look a certain way and have a certain air of the arcane to our blood, that in itself draws the arcane. We did not seek to bring it here, and we honestly don't seek to bring it to ourselves. If there is any way that you can look kindly upon what we have done here in this city, the bonds that we have made, the people that we have helped, and even from our tale of helping the other arcane situations outside of your city, in your territory, and understand that we did not come to choose this, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
You step back, and following you, Triss takes some inspiration from your maneuvering up front, and as a member of the Stormwalkers, a soldier in fine standing, I put my weight behind their testimony. She steps back. For a minute there, nothing happens. There's no response or anything. From the very back, you just hear, "Yep, it's all good," from Barney.
Yeah, just a tiny
Just I
bow
give
of
a little
my head and a little cringe. Yeah.
If I could bring my palm to my face, I would, but my hands are manacled.
You try. Doesn't quite work. As you all finish your defense, Mikela shifts in her seat and stands up. Everyone else in the room straightens in attention like that, like a snap, and the air just changes completely. And the 2 women at either side of the Empress step forward. Mikela travels down the steps at a slow and deliberate pace, taking her sweet time in reaching you all. When she does, you notice that she stands at least a full head and shoulders above the tallest of you. She gets close and leans in as needed to look you over. In the back, you can hear Barney muttering, "Oh, fuck. 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 And she's a nervous wreck. While in front of Yewsiff and Fetter, since you guys are in the front, she leans in really close to you both and sniffs the air around you. After a moment or two that feels like an eternity, she moves on to the next group, Triss and Leysa and stares. You could hear a pin drop in this place. She looks at each one of you, moves on to the back. With Taslinn, she gives her a glance. Her eyes narrow a little bit, and she moves on to Barney, who she leans in closer to her, just like you're inspecting the parts of a car, just getting your nose right up in it. And Barney is sweating bullets, if bullets existed in this fantasy campaign. She's just like, fuck, come on, just stop looking at me, stop looking at me.
Is she actually saying that?
She's not doing a very good job hiding it. Yeah, she's just like, fuck, stop looking at me, just I can't do. And Mikela frowns, even to a point of scowl, but she finishes her staring and heads back to her throne. And she doesn't sit down, but she turns to everyone. To the one known as Triss, your record is sound and loyalty undoubted. This was an error in judgment and a grievous one at that. You will spend a 10-day in the depths and resume your duties at the Gate Watch. To the Eladren, Bard, you've come before this court on charges of theft, arson, assault, and destruction of holy relics. You've also helped these 4 tiefling, and the threat that came from the sky and cannot be forgotten. A few days in the depths shall be sufficient. To the 4 tiefling, you are found guilty of reckless behavior, but not of ill will. If there is more where this came from, our city cannot afford to deal with it. You are to leave Trost at once, and not return until such a time that your issue is resolved. I hope, genuinely for your sake and safety, you can solve it. My counselor Galatha will take care of your arrangements and any preparations you might need. Mikela raises her hand for a long moment, and then drops it. Immediately, the crowd of soldiers dismiss and leave the throne room at a speed and formation that's almost alarming. You feel the presence of soldiers behind you, and they begin to unshackle your arms and legs. Soldiers grab Triss and Barney and start to lead them away. 2 heftier soldiers bring up the chest that held your items, and they begin to return your possessions to you one by one. As they do this, you notice the Archdruid leave in a huff, and Galatha slowly walk in your direction.
Well, I guess our heroes weren't fucked, so that's good. Too bad about the barnacle and Triss, though. Oh, would you look at that? The ale just went bye-bye, so now must I. But you know the drill. Get me more ale, and I'll get you more tales of these demon days.